Hello seasteaders! It's a beautiful day here in Panama. We have an exciting video for you where we put up our 1/3 scale prototype of the deep water version that we're going to be testing out. Here you go. So here's the deep water spar we put in the water a couple weeks ago. We had it in the water, we put the barrels in so that the heavy end will float while we pull it horizontally. This is a 1/3 scale prototype, so it's 13 meters altogether, which means altogether the main one will be over almost 40 meters. So here we're trying to pull it off of the shallow water here. It was very difficult with the small boat that we had because pulling from the back side where the actual steering is done, it's like trying to pull an anchor, trying to move forward. So it did not go very well at first, trying to go straight, but eventually we got that straightened out. Here we are finally getting it loose. So the barrels in the back are tied on, and it helps to keep it level so we can pull it in the shallow water there. But yeah, the truss system on the bottom is 6 meters long. That big round area in the middle is 1 meter tall, representing the underwater room. Here we're finally pulling it.
Can we tell what we are doing now?
So we're towing the deep water spar prototype over to the marina. Test the waves.
And what we're doing right now, we drive the boat backward.
We have to go reverse because it gives you control to turn left and right. Going forward with all the weight in the back, you try to turn and it just keeps pushing you in one direction.
So this way better.
This is not easier. Slower but easier. So pulling it out of that little harbor was slow but steady, but then we went into the open water here and you can see the waves just, I mean, these aren't crazy waves, but for our little boat and trying to do this sensitive thing, it wasn't that easy. I slowed down the video here to kind of just, it's hard to see waves in video, but they were big enough. We had to pull out around this reef, so we had to go out far. Unfortunately, things did not go so well, and it popped up. The barrels came loose. Fortunately, we were in deep water, so when it came loose, the thing popped right up. We had to jump in quickly, tie a new rope.
So now that when we try to move the this one go to the marina, and the belt that we tie from under is fell out.
Okay, more to the marina. More to the marina.
Okay, so now turn to the marina. See? So we have to tie from under and drive the boat back what this is dancer, and the wave is so high. I hope we make it. Let's see. We're moving off so slow, very slowly.
Oh, now it's very fast compared to before.
Oh yeah,
No,
it's same to me. So we're gonna go over there. So we finally to the location and then drop the anchor. And this is just like that. Watch it. Okay, we gotta try the boat. Careful. Alright.
So here it's standing. It has no ballast in the bottom. It's still empty in the bottom, so you can see kind of how when he walks from one side to the other, it kind of moves with him. Being 1/3 scale, his weight represents almost 2 tons. So the key here is we need to put ballast on the bottom, which is what we're doing here to level it out and make it more stable. So what these guys are doing is they're placing some weights into the basket underneath. We've updated the newer version. The bottom basket will be made out of concrete instead of made out of steel like this. But he's basically dropping large concrete blocks down into the bottom to give it more weight. The whole point of the spar is to put the buoyancy, I guess, yeah, in the center of the buoyancy is underwater, and the center of gravity is underwater. The further down that you can put the weight, the more stable it is at the top. So that's why we went with a truss. With the original Ixley design, we had a large tube going all the way down and put concrete on the bottom of the tube. This allows us to go deeper in the water using the truss, because then you don't have the pressure on the tube the lower you go. So I think 6 meters for the 1/3 scale, so it'll be a 12-meter truss, which will put the weight significantly lower. The underwater room we have here is 1 meter, so it'll be a 3-meter tall underwater room with 10 meters wide. So it'll be a very, very large underwater room. The tube on the top is 6 meters in this, so the tube on the full scale version will be 12 meters tall. It's a very large spar, so we can get it pretty well set up for large homes or sea pods. So here he's continually pouring weight into the bottom. At this point, he's got bags of just concrete or just gravel. So we're going to use this tube to just pour all the gravel down into the basket on the bottom. It's not the easiest thing working in the water, especially when we're doing everything new. So it's great that we were doing this in marina, shallow water, not shallow water, but just calm water. This would be so much harder out in the middle of the ocean. So that's why we're trying to do everything incremental now. Let's test things out. Yeah, see, he got down there and told him to pull it up, but he's underwater just pointing at him. The guy doesn't see. So he had to change tactics and try to figure out a way to send him a message while he's down there ready for him to lower it down. Yeah, these little things that you learn. Process. So he swims down. He's gonna put it into place. Give it a little tap. Now he knows how to lower down. And our setup in the full-scale version will be a barge, lowering these things down, getting everything set. Still doing the same thing, just lowering a bunch of weight through gravel or whatever heavy things we can lower down. Probably have to have a large pile of gravel, some sort of feeding device to get it down 12 meters, over 12 meters, because as things go, the underwater room will eventually be underwater. You probably can't tell yet, but it keeps getting lower and lower over time. It kept pouring and pouring, and that still wasn't enough. We had to go back for more. But you can see the underwater room's getting a little lower, so we'll take that out. It's a bit lower than what we were, so now we've got some really big heavy concrete blocks that we're gonna place on the top to get it go down quicker. We just had these big concrete things, so we figured we would use them. It turns out they worked very well. I think we're already to the point where it's a lot lower in the water. Yeah, it's just one of those things. You use different strategies, testing out how good thing one works, and if that's not working well, then you try something else. It's the whole point of doing a prototype. When we put the prototype ICSLI in the Andaman Sea, it was just a lot of difficulty. It's all the stuff you don't know. You know, you can plan everything on paper, but when you actually get out in the water, it's grueling. I definitely built up a lot of muscle trying to get everything working, because it's a lot of hand labor and just manual labor for those things that you don't know until you get there. So you can already see it's almost underwater, and after we had these all set on the top, we put two big ones on the top, and then later on we just lower them down into the basket again, because we want to keep the weight, like I said, as deep as possible, to put the center of gravity as low under the water as possible. That allows for a very stable top, and that's the whole goal. Get the house as high above the water and as stable as possible, so when the waves are hitting it, that there's hardly any movement. And finally we reach the point where the underwater room is under the water. For the full-scale version, we can put in little windows. We were going to have this open so that we could test out what it was like underwater sitting in there, but we figured it'd be too dangerous to send somebody down that long tube, and we don't, if they got stuck, we'd have to send somebody really skinny if we get something got stuck. It'd just be too dangerous, so we just closed off the top so that nobody's gonna go down there. So yeah, it's so much more stable now that all the weight's down there. It's higher out of the water because we hadn't put the top on, which represents more weight. So, and then over the house you have people and you have appliances, everything. So we represent the top with a platform, just a fiberglass round platform with a cage on top for putting solar panels and the flag on top. So here's that platform that'll be going on the top. We use that same platform for the shallow water version. There's our boat, the barnacles being used to put the cage on the top. Went pretty flawlessly, and then we stuck the Panamanian flag with a light, and everything's all set. Yeah, it's stable. I guess they can use it to have a lookout here. We want to put this in the deeper water to do more testing of the waves, but mainly we just wanted to see if this was going to work. I think with our tests it does pretty well, proving the concept, and we can eventually go bigger. It's anchored at 2 points right now, but our hope is for in the full-scale version to have it dynamically moored, so you have 3 or 6 little motors on it underwater to keep it steadily in place, using different power sources for the different motors to ensure that if anything goes wrong, it continues to stay in place. The bubbles means it's good.
Okay, hold mine.
Shouldn't need to hold it because we're so steady. There we go. So stable.
So we here today to doing the wide test of. So we here today to doing the wide test on the platform. And first thing first, I want to show you guys the wave of the water.
Man, that's amazing.
A lot
Look
of
at that
wind.
wine taste. Look at that
Yep.
wine glass.
And now we see the glass wide. Can you? Okay, now is a good time. Look at this, the dinghy pass by, and that's gonna make a lot of wave. and see how the Y is going. Yeah, look at that. Okay, the Y it doesn't shake. Well, thank you. You passed by such a good time.
Alright, today we're here with Alan Bytel, the local owner of the Linton Bay Marina. And we're doing a wine test today to show that we're on top of the new prototype of the deep water floating home. Alan, what do you think about Ocean Builders being here in Panama?
Well, first of all, welcome to Linton Bay, Chad. It's always a pleasure to collaborate with you all. Yeah, it's morning time, and we're going to start our wine early in the morning at Linton Bay. But I want to thank you for being here at Linton Bay. It's a pleasure for us to host Ocean Builders at our marina, and we expect bigger and better things in the future. This prototype is quite impressive. It's my first time on the prototype with the wine, and I get to keep the wine and keep the glass, I suspect, right?
Yeah, that's how it is.
But either way, I want to thank you guys for being here, and thank you for being part of the community.
Alright, thanks Alan, and we appreciate it. Successful wine test.
Last thing, how do you feel when you are up here? Is there too much movement or?
Oh, this is, spectacular. Honestly, I'm surprised. This has zero movement. We just had a boat come by, and there was no effects from the wake. So I am impressed, and it's always exciting to be part of something new. So congratulations.
Thank you. Better than stay on the boat.
Oh, much better. I have to tell you, it's either on the mainland or on a sea pod.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Finally, I want to show you really quickly our factory. We have poured the footings, so we're going to put up the factory. Due to the virus, we can't pour the concrete, so we'll just put the factory up and then pour the concrete after it's up. Thanks for watching.